right, so you guys know this. In 2020, more than 50% of white women voters chose Trump, and that is after all the sexual assault allegations and the grab them by the not made for TV comments. And now, 2 years later, we're 6 months out from the midterms, and no matter how you identify, your civil rights are under attack. So I know I have been shouting from the mountaintops, what exactly will it take for white women to vote in our and their own self-interest? So joining me now to have that conversation is Rachel Vindman from Red, Wine, and Blue, and co-host of the Suburban Women Problem podcast. Lucy Caldwell, very happy to take up all her Saturdays. She's back with me on set, political strategist and campaign manager for Joe Walsh's 2020 presidential campaign. And Jill, I'm going to mess up your last name. I apologize in advance. Jill Filipovich, attorney and contributing opinion writer. You go ahead and say it, Jill.
Filipovich. It's impossible.
Filipovich. Thank you. My apologies. Well, since I messed up your name, we'll start off with you first. Sorry about that, Jill, but very happy to have you with me. I really wanted you on. I slid in your DMs to make sure that we had you, so thanks for being here. So I want to kick it off with you because Republican voting white women, like we just talked about, most certainly helped pave the way for abortion rights to be obliterated. And white women have narrowly favored the Republican presidential candidate for the better part of 70 years. We just talked about the support for Trump in 2016 and 2020. That was not an aberration. That was a continuation of a long-standing pattern. So why do you think the bulk of this group stays loyal to a party that does not serve their interests?
Well, I think the first thing it's important to understand is that white women are the largest kind of race-gender combination voting bloc. In 2016, they were 41% of the electorate. That's a bigger voting bloc than white men. It's a much bigger voting bloc than black women, black men, Hispanic women, Hispanic men. So I think it's very important to understand that among this huge voting bloc, you kind of have to break it down into subgroups in order to really understand it. And the reality is that white women who have been able to enjoy the fruits of feminist progress, who have gotten higher education, who have been able to stay single for longer, who have been able to delay childbearing, who live in big cities. Those women tend to vote for Democrats. They do vote in their own interests. What you see on the conservative side, women who tend to vote for people like Donald Trump despite sexual assault allegations and do in fact vote against the interests of women more broadly, I think is a sense that being respected for being a traditional woman is safer, is better than having to kind of go at it on your own. I think there's a lot of affiliation with racial status. It is part of what grants, white women, whether you're liberal or conservative, a large degree of privilege in society. And there are a lot of white women who really want to hang on to that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And Rachel, I feel like you're one of the people doing the work. Like you're actually going around having these conversations, talking to women who, are voters. And I'm curious to hear from you. What do you hear when you're having these conversations? What kind of feedback do you hear from women who I would argue do not vote in their interests? And thank you, Jill, for putting that in context for us.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I've had a couple of hard conversations this week with friends, but I don't want to shy away from those conversations because they're important to have. And everyone is on their journey in a unique place. So I don't want to be an apologist for white women. We have a lot of growth to do, but at the same time, demonizing is probably not going to be helpful, as frustrated as I get, even in my relationships. So I think one of the most powerful things we can do is talk about personal stories and also not, have this divide about stay-at-home moms and working moms and women who have chosen to have children and remain single for longer. All this stuff, it creates strife where there doesn't need to be any. And this should be a galvanizing moment. This should be a moment for all women to come together. And we still have lots of differences. We have lots of places we need to listen to each other more. But I hope this will strengthen us and galvanize us to work together and see that we need to start listening more and do things that are in everyone's best interest. But I mean, So you can see I'm using my husband's like Zoom setup because, you know why? Because my kitchen is a disaster. It is a flipping disaster. And like, I mean, this is a big moment for me to even discuss this on TV because I feel like, you know, I have a pretty equitable marriage, but I don't want anyone to know that my kitchen is I wouldn't want anyone to come in, certainly not a health and safety inspector. But this is the realness we need to have. Like, we're not perfect. I make mistakes every single day. And I just think we need to allow ourselves more to be in this place. And even if men aren't acknowledging it, we need to start having the conversations with each other.
So I hear Rachel's point, Lucy, and I'm so happy you're on set with me to have this conversation. And I know this may be an uncomfortable conversation for people, but we have to have it. So I hear Rachel saying we can't demonize, don't demonize women. I have to tell you, I don't know if that's my ministry, because when we talk about Republican voting women who are supporting candidates who are openly racist, who are openly sexist, who are openly misogynistic, who are openly xenophobic, I think that is an easy demographic to demonize. And so I'm curious, because you were once a Republican, you still talk to Republican voting women. I'm curious your conversation, because you and Rachel and Jill could probably have a better conversation than I would, because I don't always know how to meet a bigot or a bigot apologist in the middle. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a real problem is that Republican women are in this mode, and specifically white women, where in a way they do benefit from the patriarchy, right? And so they are feeling or participating in the same kind of story of economic insecurity, or, a right or a privilege that they believe their white husbands and sons and fathers deserve is going to a person of color, right? So they have a stake in the old paradigm that is harmful. They also, at the same time, it's good to be a white woman, because white women also benefit from the progress that Democrats have worked to assure for white women. And so I think that the conversation is going to change, because I don't think it has occurred to white women. They have not for 50 years operated in a paradigm where they're coming for the white women too, right? And they're not just coming for abortion rights. There's a bill in Louisiana going through that would make it homicide to have a copper IUD, right? Or to have in vitro. Unfortunately, most voting blocs, especially white women, are motivated to vote based on what's happening to them, right? What it means for them. And life is pretty good for white women most of the time. Democrat in power, Republican in power, economy good, economy bad. They're really insulated relative to other groups. And of course that's not the plural of anecdote is not data. It's not all white women, but by and large, if we're going to generalize. And so I remember when working as a Republican strategist all over the country, one of the things, and this really resonates with something that Jason said in the last hour, it's true that all politics is local, and all politics comes from personal stories, as Rachel just talked about too. So I think that women in households, and including white women in their households, they are the deciders of things for the family. And women also are motivated by being told, they're motivated by Republican messaging around, we want you to, you are going to make the best decisions for your family, right? We want to create a world for you in which you choose your children's education outcomes. You have, this or that economic liberty. Democrats are not as effective at telling those personal stories to Republican white women. But this, I think, is really going to be a sea change, because now Democrats can say for white women, actually, you have a liberty that is really, really at risk here. And Republicans are coming for you. So it bothers me because it's sort of cynical, and it bothers me because I would like white women to be able to vote for a cause greater than themselves. But I do see among Republican women that I still talk to that there is a little bit of a sea change, I think, that really we could see.
We'll see, Lucy. Jill, I want to really quickly, because we're out of time, I want to bring you back in this conversation, because I think Lucy just made some really great points there, that white women, no matter your party, benefit. And so when you look at black women who are fighting so hard on the front lines of democracy, it's because we know up close and personal the harm that these policies can do. It's not my ministry to go out and talk to white women. It's white women's ministry to go out and do that. So, Jill, I'm just curious if you think we'll see the sea change that that Lucy is dangling in front of us, that we hope we'll see. But I'm curious your thoughts there.
I hope so. I think we'll certainly see it among more moderate white women, those who kind of may swing between Republicans or Democrats or may not show up to vote in the first place. I think what we will definitely see is even conservative white women having abortions, using contraception, doing all of these feminist gains. I'm not sure you're still going to see a lot of those women that are hardcore Republicans voting for Democrats. If Roe is overturned, because frankly, it's not really about abortion. It's about restoring the country to a land of traditional gender roles and traditional racial hierarchies. And that's a deal that conservative white women are willing to take.